So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
Good evening. I'm Coulter Wonkite. I'm already into the 420, damn it.
What's the matter with that cat there?
Must be full of reefer.
Full of reefer?
Yeah, man.
You mean that cat's high?
Sailing.
Sailing?
Lightly.
We now wander off the beaten path with an update from the Reefer Reporter.
Hello, it's Potober the 1st, and welcome to the Reefer Reporters. We are live as we highlight Canadian and international cannabis news from the previous week. My name is Al Graham, and Kim Cooper joins me today at the news desk. Hello, Kim. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Al. Potober is upon us, as you said, the month of legalization. So lots going on, that's for sure.
Yes, there is. We've got lots of news articles to cover, so let's get started with our first one.
Yeah, we've got some awards season is approaching, not only for Hollywood, but also for the cannabis community.
That's right. The Canadian Cannabis Awards were announced on Friday, I believe, right? Friday?
Yeah, that's right. This past Friday, the top people were announced on the nominees for some of the top spots in Canada. So considering what you can vote for, is some of the people are things like Cannabis Crusader and as well as different various flowers and oils and stores and all kinds of stuff.
Yes, there is. There's a whole list here at the website, CanadianCannabisAwards.com. You know, everything from rolling papers, vaporizers, accessory shops. There's a whole list. I know on one category, the Crusader of the Year, there's like 30 people listed.
Yeah, lots of people being considered for this prestigious, so to speak, nominee in the community. Lift Awards have been around for a while, and people look forward to seeing them every year. Now, I don't recall there ever being this many people in the running for Crusader before. I think the top amount I've ever seen before was maybe 6 or 8 people.
Yeah, there's names, lots of names in there of people who I do recognize, as well as names of people who I don't recognize.
Yeah. And just because we don't recognize them doesn't mean that they aren't doing lots in their particular area. That's for sure. There's a lot of people that have a lot of things going on that isn't in the public eye.
Correct.
So there's a place where you go on the website and you can see the nominee's picture. If you hover above that picture, a little info diamond comes up. Click on it. It'll give you a little bit of a bio for the person that's in the running for this award.
That's right. Yeah, I was looking here at the flowers and oils, top high THC flower, top indicas, top hybrids.
Yeah, stuff like products, stuff like bong type, even clinic is up for grabs for an award. The top clinic that's out there that's helping patients and that kind of thing. So some great categories in the awards, including, as we said, all of the different categories, including sativas and hybrids and indicas in their various forms, all separated, oils as well as flowers. Now, some of the influencer categories are Cannabis Crusader, Cannabis Influencer, Top Twitter Influencer, Top Cannabis YouTuber, and of course, Top Cannabis Podcast.
That's right, Top Cannabis Podcast. The P.E.I radio show last year was nominated in that. They were finalists, and I'm very happy to mention that the P.E.I radio show is once again nominated for the top podcast. That's back-to-back years, and I can let you know we're very happy to be nominated.
Yeah, it's huge just to be nominated. As you said, last year we took second place for podcast. So we're hoping to do a little bit better this year.
Yeah. And while we're on the awards, we can't finish the story without mentioning that you, Kim, have been nominated for the Cannabis Influencer.
Yeah. Wow. Huge honor and huge surprise to me. Top influencer in Canada it's a huge honor just to be nominated for such a position. So many other people that are in the community that are nominated in the same category, all very deserving candidates for sure. Huge honor just to be nominated. Blew me away for sure.
It does, doesn't it? Eh?
It does.
Yes. All righty. So the Canadian Cannabis Awards, check it out and get in there and vote for all the different competitions.
Yeah, vote for your faves.
That's right. That's right. Okay, Kim, let's move on to the next story.
Sounds good.
Okay. We're hearing more and more police departments across the country turn around and say, this dragger drug test machine, costs a lot of money. It costs a lot to do each test compared to doing the alcohol test. I think we might wait to see what other places work out, how they, work out with those places. But I see, which leads to be a bit of concern by the police on whether the machine is very effective or not.
Yeah, a lot of police forces are opting out, so to speak. Let's wait and see what the next guy's going to do. Problem being, of course, if nobody's using it, who are you watching in the end? If everybody chooses this method, the Draeger 5000. I mean, the results are in question, to say the least here. They're questionable on what they say is bad or inclement weather. So if you're anywhere in rural Canada, especially in the north, you've got minus 40 for 6 months a year. Mm-hmm. So these things are supposed to fail in those temperatures. Well, we already know firsthand from somebody that we know personally, on a personal level in the community, that took one of these tests and tested positive 10 hours later in good weather, in Vancouver where it was hot.
and we will be talking to him in a couple of days.
Yeah, he'll be on the show in a couple of days. So I mean, that brings the entire focus of this is, are they reliable source? Wow. And I think the big answer there that the police departments are looking at this and they're saying, I don't think so. No, they're not.
Well, according to the Justice Minister, Jody Wilson-Raybould, she defended the approval of the device in the Senate there on Tuesday, and she says that the Canadian Society of Forensic Science examined the machine and the public had an opportunity to give feedback, and in the end, she says it is not the only tool that law enforcement officers will have. It's an additional tool. There is a potential that in the future that they will certify additional devices.
Yeah. Well, let's face it. They introduced this device at great haste because of public outcry. Everybody was scared and talking about, okay, well, what about drug driving? And people are going to be behind the wheel and there's no way to test them. They brought this device in willy-nilly without the proper protocols taken that they would have taken on any other device, just to satisfy public outrage. And it's not working out too good for them because the cops disagree with their findings if they're not using it.
Well, in Halifax, their police department, they say they're not panicking. They're not going to have it. They said they're rather than jumping at the first instrument, we are collecting all the information that we can do to determine what would be best tool for them to use.
Yeah, well, they have the roadside testing tools that they have effectively today, which is a DRE, a drug recognition expert, or, your basic training that all cops have, touch your nose, walk a straight line, all of that kind of stuff that they use for field sobriety testing on the road. I'm sure those things will continue to take place. And are they a good measure? No, not really. No. But it's what we have at hand right now because there is no certifiable clinical test that you can do on somebody at the roadside that proves impairment on cannabis.
Well, according to Yeah, well, according to the managing director, Rob Clark, he says it operates best between temperatures of 4 degrees Celsius and 40 degrees Celsius. But the main part of the machine, which does the analysis, should remain in the police vehicle where it's protected from the cold.
Mm-hmm. Well, it doesn't work in the warm either, so that doesn't say much for their study.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it's going to take about 30 seconds to a minute to collect the saliva sample and about 4.5 minutes to get the results. The company stresses that the device is merely a screening tool, like a breathalyzer is for alcohol, and the result does not provide the evidence to convict a driver.
Yeah, and that's a big one right there. Does not contain the evidence to convict the driver. So why are police forces, should they spend all this money on this heavy-duty test that costs so much money if it's not going to garner them a conviction on the crime? If they have to use all these other tools to garner the conviction, then what's the purpose of the Draeger 5000?
Gather evidence, I guess, by the looks of it. According to a criminal lawyer in Vancouver, Kayla Lee, she fully intends to file a constitutional challenge of the device as soon as the police use one on a driver who wants to challenge it. So anybody who uses one and they're being charged, give Kayla Lee a call.
Absolutely. Well, she's talking about a study that was published this year in the Journal of Analytical Toxicology, examining the use of the device in Norway. And she said it produced fairly large proportions of false positive or false negative results compared to drugs concentrated in blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's a lot of questions about this machine. I don't think things are quite as the way they say our health minister says they are.
Yeah. Well, a study published this year in the Journal of Analytical Toxicology examined the use in Norway.
Yeah, that's the one I was just saying, and it largely false negatives.
14.5%.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like
is.
That's crazy. So I don't think things are quite the way they think they are in our government. I think we're being led astray on this.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah,
it'll be before the courts, and as we know, she'll probably more than likely be shot down.
More than likely. I mean, legalization, it's here, and it's here in Ontario now too.
Yes, it is. It is here in Ontario. Well, come October 17th, we've got a little bit more information out of our provincial government on what they're going to do.
Yeah, they finally released the regulations for the largest province in the country. Last one on the table to release what our plan is for legalization. That happens in, 2.5 short weeks. So 17 days from now, we're going to have legalization, and we finally know what we're doing in Ontario. And, a lot of people are screaming about Doug Ford and how bad he is and everything else, and I'd love to jump on that bandwagon, but I just can't do it here.
Well, let's review some of the stuff here, such as the minimum age will be 19.
Normal. That's our drinking age in this province, so that's to be expected. I can live with that.
Where can it be used?
Anywhere you smoke cigarettes.
That's right.
So that is a big 360 compared to what we were looking at prior to this announcement. People were under the belief it was going to be in your own private residence only. No public smoking of cannabis anywhere except your residence or your residence property. Not so, say the new regs. Pretty much anywhere you can consume tobacco, you are permitted to smoke cannabis in those areas.
Yeah, smoke and vape cannabis. Now, some of these examples, obviously your private residence, outdoor public places such as sidewalks and parks.
Yeah.
Ooh.
If there's smoking permitted there, they will
Yeah.
allow you to smoke cigarettes. there.
Designated
Now,
guest.
a note on that about parks before everybody starts
Yeah.
screaming. Parks are not, most parks are designated non-smoking areas. If there's a playground in there or anything like that, but most parks you're allowed to smoke in the parking lot.
Yeah, it's true. Designated guest rooms in hotels, motels, recreational vehicles, and boats that meet certain criteria. Oh, such as somebody's got a camper that is,
Yes,
sleeping.
pleasure boat. The boat is a houseboat.
Right.
A pleasure boat that has a captain at the helm. The captain's cabin must remain smoke-free environment and cannabis-free environment, the same as an alcohol-free environment. But the outside areas you can consume.
You can also smoke in controlled areas such as long-term care homes, certain retirement homes, residential hospices, provincially funded support housing, designated psychiatric facilities, or veterans facilities. Veterans facilities, would that mean the Legion?
Yeah. Veterans facilities will encompass everything that's got to do with veterans. So it should mean like legions, long-term care homes, as they said, veteran services facilities that have vaping areas and that kind of thing established for the veterans to use. Cannabis consumption will be allowed in those spaces.
Yeah, and don't forget there could be additional bylaws or rental agreements that could restrict the consumption as well.
These are our provincial laws, the same as the federal laws guide the provinces. Federally, the provinces are free to make up their own subset of rules. That same thing passes down to municipalities and rental agreements, and down the line it goes. So more people can add on more bylaws and more regulations on top of these, depending on where you live.
Yeah, and where you could not smoke or vape cannabis would include indoor common areas such as condos, apartment buildings, indoor public areas. Think of like arenas and stuff like that.
Yeah. Anywhere you're not allowed to smoke now, that's reasonable.
Exactly, where kids gather, stuff like that.
They're telling you to use common sense. Here and that's what I see from these regulations. They're saying, okay, we're making this an adult thing. We're thinking you're all going to behave like adults and use common sense here. And let's hope that this province stands up to that task.
Okay, so now we know where we can smoke. Now what about purchasing it?
Yeah, purchasing, well, where can you buy? Currently, you're only going to be able to buy from Ontario's online province regulated purchasers. So they've got an online sales venue that's available to all Ontarians. There will be no brick and mortar stores until April of 2019.
Yes, that's right. April the 1st. That's when the first stores will be opening up. Where you can actually go into them. And they will be private retail as well.
Yeah, that's the one other good thing about the private retail model. Yes, it's taking a long time to get here, and we have to wait longer than everybody else. But when it arrives, they expect there to be almost a flurry of shops that will be ready to go. They're going to use this time to get their ducks in a row and issue vendors permits and licenses to private individuals. And there are quite a few actually favorable conditions and restrictions on corporate cannabis they aren't going to be able to just take over the market.
No, the LPs, the present suppliers of medical cannabis to patients that comes in the mail, they will be only allowed to have a store at where the production is.
Yep.
Yeah, and there will be no cap on the number of people who are issued license, but it's a 2-license process. They will be putting a cap, though, on the number of stores that a licensee can have.
That's right. So you're not going to wind up with a corporate front, something like the LCBO or a corporate cannabis company that's large enough to just go up and buy up all of the licenses and wind up owning everything for 100 kilometers around. They own every store. We won't see that. They're disallowing that to happen, which is great news. I mean, I'm usually pretty good on the bandwagon for dissing Ford, but I can't find fault here.
No, not so far, no. Now, it's not even going to be covered under the LCBO. It's going to be covered under Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario.
Yeah, they're taking the rights away from the LCBO. Alcohol and Gaming are taking it over fully and wholly, which is going to open up the playing field for the smaller guy to have a chance to have a couple of stores and not be up against a monopoly.
Yeah, exactly. You got my friend there at Wayne, there at Cadets. He's hoping to be able to open a store before all this announcement come out. Now, I was talking to him over the weekend, but I didn't ask him about that. But I'm sure now he feels that he has a better chance of being able to get a license and operate a retail cannabis store.
Absolutely. It's giving the smaller industry players a shot. And I applaud the initiative so far put out by this government as far as cannabis legalization goes. I think they're looking at it from a progressive view, and I hope that it does well.
Yep. Well, the Green Party leader says that the cannabis market should not be a windfall for large corporate players with inside access to the Premier's office. He says, I will be standing up for small Ontario-owned businesses and job creators, which is, the craft market as we see it now. Once food becomes legal, look at the markets that are going on in the city.
Yeah. Once they roll in the edibles and the extracts and everything else, I mean, there's huge opportunities for some great entrepreneurs in the city of Toronto and throughout Ontario. And this will give them a more level playing field for sure.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Talking about level playing fields. In our next story, there's a small town here in Ontario, a little place called Flinton. It's not much more than a few houses, a senior's home, a general store combination, probably with a mailbox or two in it.
Yep, gas station, everything else.
No, there's not even a gas station there.
No, not even. They don't even have gas. Okay.
No, they don't even have gas. no, there's no gas station there. But apparently, there's a lot of cannabis growing there.
Apparently, and residents aren't real thrilled about it. One resident said, I don't think people move back here even considering, my neighbor down the road will have a grow up. Is it legal or isn't it legal? Lots of questions are being asked about this grow up that has just been discovered. 8,000 plants popped up in the village of Flint.
That's right, 8,000 plants, you say, in the village of Flinton, which is located north of Napanee. And the thing is the municipal officials didn't know anything about it. So that's what leaves the question. Is this a licensed producer, or is this a situation where there's a designated grower that has multiple licenses at one place?
That's right. We're unsure of any of the real facts of this situation. All it is right now is a story out that I guess a neighbor has caught wind that there is grow operation on an adjacent farm. Numbers coming out peg it at 8,000 plants. We don't know if those plant numbers are factual, even in fact factual. So we have to wait and find out. The only thing we do know from the OPP statement so far is the farm is fully licensed by Health Canada. So now that doesn't mean that it's a grow up. It could be a private person grow.
That's right. Well, Global News, it's the reports from, they said that they contacted Health Canada, like you mentioned, but the federal minister said that they cannot comment on medical cannabis business applications. And as we know, they can't comment on patients either.
That's right. It's a privacy issue. We don't want anybody knowing. Would you want people knowing your prescription history and where you get your prescription filled and everything about you? No, it's a privacy issue. It's a medical issue. It's an issue between yourself and your doctor and Health Canada. And if this is the case of a private person grow, that's a legal grow under the Health Canada regime, then it's no one's business that it's there.
Well, here's a key to some of this: is if it was a commercial business, the property used would be rezoned as commercial.
That's
all right. Now, that hasn't happened. It's not zoned commercial.
That's right.
Okay.
It's zoned.
Now the
so
Reeve.
This is a designated grower that is growing for multiple patients.
Yeah. The Reeve of the area, whose name is Henry Hogg, and just know, by the way, I know Henry. Henry's a nice guy. Okay. I camped many times on his property. He was surprised to hear about it. He didn't know anything about it. He says that Health Canada is supposed to notify the municipality of this kind of operation, includes location or name, but they didn't receive any notification. So yet again, there's more proof that it is a designated grower situation.
That's right. It has to be a personal grow. Health Canada isn't obligated to notify municipalities about medical use grows. They're not notified. They don't have to notify anybody about anything about a medical use grow. So the fact that they have not been notified, the fact that this is not industrial or farm land or business land, it is residential land. I mean, this is just somebody's personal grower. This guy's a designated grower, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if when everything comes to light, there's only 4,000 plants there, not 8,000.
Maybe. It could be. The CEO of Flinton says that since the property has been newly acquired, the municipality could not divulge the name of the property owner, but did confirm that they had no knowledge that a business was operating there.
But we don't even know if a business is operating there.
That's right.
Like a lot of people are jumping the gun. This seems like one person on an adjacent farm that found out that there's pot growing there, and they called the paper.
Oh, I know she's upset because there's lots of comments on my Facebook post on this, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
She's upset. Oh, and just so you know, Global News, they said that they made contact with the owners of the farm, but due to a language barrier, they were unable to communicate with them.
Well, let's hope that this gets rectified soon and that they get some peace and people just move on their way.
And according to the municipal officials, an inspector has started an investigation into the situation. So maybe we'll have a follow-up story of the Great Mystery in Flinton.
We may have a follow-up story. The Great Mystery in Flinton is resolved. They have medical papers for illegal grow. Leave them alone. Let's hope that's how it turns out.
That's right. Exactly. Okay, Kim, we got one more story before we take break.
All right, one more. We'll fly out to Winnipeg for a minute.
Yeah, we'll head out west as we cover the country. And we see that in Winnipeg, they believe that more enforcement is a way to deal with cannabis issue.
Oh, and I mean, that's worked so well through prohibition. I can understand their logic, right?
It sure has.
I mean, what are these people thinking? Oh, my God. And not only is more enforcement needed, less informed, younger, untrained people at the helm of that enforcement is what is needed, according to Winnipeg. They're going to put some cadets on bikes to go out and distribute cannabis tickets.
That's right. The Winnipeg Police Cadets will be empowered to arrest people for smoking cannabis in public places or underage use. And there's several changes within the laws, which also includes the community safety officers, First Nation safety officers, and Winnipeg's River Patrol Unit and their cadets will also be allowed to arrest people for cannabis.
So not only giving tickets, but they're going to have the power to enforce arrest. How many of them are going to be out there trying to, make their way through life on the merits of what they did as a cadet to advance their careers later on in life? Making their balls or their bones or whatever it is that they do when they're in these kind of positions. That's what they're looking for, opportunities like this. Another big question question is how many patients are going to be at the end of that wrath of these cadets that are all gung-ho waiting to make these arrests for their records. Most of them will be unaware that patients are exempt from the new rules. So I can see this just being just a shitstorm.
Yeah, well, just so we know, we're not picking on the cannabis consumer. They're also going to be able to apprehend people who are trespassing and enforce bans on tobacco smoking in indoor closed places.
Oh, this is going to be great. Oh, this is going to be fantastic in the province, in the province of Manitoba and in the town of Winnipeg. I can see a lot of residents getting really pissed off with gung-ho cadets trying to make their way through.
Yeah, this would be interesting.
Yeah.
Glad I don't live in Winnipeg.
Glad I don't live in Winnipeg. You've got my sympathies, people.
You got people who are trying to impress others, superiors.
That's right. They're trying to impress everybody. Look at how many arrests I made. Look how good I am at my job. They have a point to prove right now. Yeah. And they're going to use every avenue and every tool at their disposal to make that point. And this is a new one for them.
Yep. Yepper. Okay, Kim, it's break time.
All right, sounds good.
I think we should rename that. Instead of calling it break time, call it our medication session.
It's the medication session. It's absolutely good.
Yeah, okay. Okay, and as we do that, our listeners will be able to hear a bit of a CNBC report on how Amsterdam is jealous about America's cannabis industry. And we're coming back when you hear Hannah singing about smoky Amsterdam. You're listening to the Reefer Reporters. We are live here at lifestyleradio.net.
Hey, this is Cheech.
And this is Chong.
And you're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
What is it?
Lifestyle Radio. Say it one more time.
420 radio?
Ooh.
Hang up and try again.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
We are in Amsterdam. This is a city that's known for a lot of things, not least among them marijuana. Now, as the cannabis industry is growing in other parts of the world, we thought we could learn some lessons from the industry here.
There's a lot of things going on in this coffee shop. We have a really nice bar.
Joachim Helms is the co-owner of Greenhouse Coffee Shops in Amsterdam and chairman of the Dutch Cannabis Retailers Association.
We have this system in Holland where people can go to a coffee shop and buy their cannabis product in a good, nice, safe environment.
Thanks to a so-called toleration policy, it's been legal to sell and smoke marijuana and hash in coffee shops like Greenhouse in the Netherlands for decades.
So this is one strain that we have. It's a super lemon haze.
Yeah, that's really strong smell.
Yeah, we have a maximum of 500 grams in the coffee shop, and also the people are allowed to buy 5 grams per day per person. So, which is enough for personal use.
And that's a small amount compared to in the United States, for example.
In the United States, it's a lot more. Yes, definitely.
The Dutch government enforces strict conditions for coffee shops to stay in business, like the quantity of weed sold and the prohibition of alcohol and other hard drugs. But as marijuana legalization gains steam in countries like the US and Canada, the Netherlands is falling behind when it comes to regulating the weed industry. While it's legal to sell marijuana to customers in coffee shops, it's illegal for the shops to buy their supply of weed.
Are you looking for cannabis news, education, and people's opinions? Are you looking to learn what Canadian and international cannabis advocates are doing, not only now, but what got them to this point in their lives, and what does the future hold for them? Do you want to learn how patients are using cannabis as their daily medication, or learn how their cannabis use helps them with their medical condition? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then I'm going to suggest to you to tune in to Lifestyle Radio. Catch their live weekly shows and have your questions and concerns answered and find the experience you're looking for. Monday, catch your weekly news broadcast with the Reefer Reporters. Then on Wednesday, get several hours worth of cannabis public education. We get things started with cannabis and coffee with Tamarawana. Finish up your evening with the award-winning Pace Radio Show with Al Graham and joint host Kim Cooper and Alicia Yashishin. No week would be complete without tuning into Friday night's program, the 420 Radio Show featuring Al Rapp and the 420 Radio crew, Mary Jane Baker and Marcel Gagnac. Cannabis is a lifestyle, and you can catch all your cannabis lifestyle information
right here at lifestyleradio.net or at our sister site, 420radio.ca.
Paradise is ringing, love is everywhere. Can you feel it, people? Wash away all despair. You choose who you be. Love is who I am. Dancing down the streets of smoky Amsterdam. Sunlight skipping down that road. Hey, I'm tripping. Whoa.
Hey, we're back from our medication session. That means it's now time for Northern Ontario Kim Cooper and I to get right back at the news. Right, Kim?
Sounds good to me, Al. And where are we starting off? Oh, I think something about shortages, right?
That's right. Talking about shortages.
Oh.
Yes. Cannabis retailers expect supply shortages during early days of legalization, according to a number of retailers in Calgary.
Yeah. Well, according to Nathan Missel of Edmonton, he said everybody's aware of that. There will be shortages. There's always shortages at the beginning until you get enough product, he says. I know I'm going to intervene in the middle of this thing, and I can tell you now already, the medical community is already feeling those shortages.
Yeah, that's just the medical community, never mind the retail ones, the recreational people. And, as he says in this article here, there'll be stuff on the shelves the day the place opens. But will there be stuff on the shelves by the end of the month?
Yeah, there may not be. It'll be sparse. And it'll be available, it'll come online with limited stores feeling the impact, but there's going to be minimal products around. It's not going to be a huge free-for-all on the shelves, that's for sure.
No, that's right. And, he's not alone there. The Chief Executive Officer of Alcanna says we understand supply is going to be pretty short for the first little while because the growers aren't up.
But why?
The shortage supply. Because it could take up to 6 months before the amount of product is fully satisfactory for both the retailers and the consumers. 6 months.
6 months. 6 months. I mean, we've known this was coming. Why aren't they ready? That's the big question, I guess, for everybody, is why aren't they ready? I think a large portion of this has to do with the restraints that are put on by Health Canada, saying that they're not allowed to import any product for the rec market.
Yeah, they're not allowed to import any for the rec market, but they're allowed to import for the medical market. So as in a story that I believe we commented on last week, someone has suggested to them that, well, sell all your product to the rec market and import all the patient stuff. Yeah, what about the patients that are already using stuff that's working for them and all of a sudden you want to take them off of it?
Yeah, I mean, do they not understand cannabinoid therapy? It isn't, you can't change Girl Scout cookies for train wreck and just expect it to work the same.
That's right.
It doesn't work that way. Some people spend years to find the actual perfect strain that works for their condition and alleviates their symptoms and allows them to live their life. And they've finally found that strain and it's working for them and they're on it for 6 months and life is good, and you're going to go, oh no, buddy's going to give me $10 for that, so we're going to sell it to him instead so you can find something new.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah, that's not right. So we've seen patients who have suffered. You can't be doing that.
Yeah, and my big issue is a lot of these patients that are suffering like this are kids that are on certain oil medication and cannabinoid therapies that work for Dravet syndrome and various chronic seizure conditions and that kind of thing. These government officials and everybody keep screaming, what about the children? Yeah, well, what about them?
Okay, well, according to a CIBC report that was issued last May, they said the Canadian market will consume 800,000 kilograms of medical and recreational cannabis. And the current legal production potential in Canada, according to this report, is 350,000.
So where's that going to leave patients? Because you know they're not shortchanging the rec market. They're definitely taking every gram that's available and putting it up for sale to the general public that are legal age to buy it. There's no doubt in my mind that that's the way that's going down. They're not going to keep any supply in backstock for patient use. We're all being thrown into one regime to order from one company, from one place, and it's just not going to work.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Time will tell, as they say.
Yeah, I see a lot of patients screaming and going without.
And I'm sure we will have a follow-up to this as those days approach.
Absolutely, for sure. A lot of other people aren't happy about a different situation that's going on over in Calgary.
Yeah, well, the Calgary police officers have been banned from consuming legal cannabis even on their days off.
Yeah, days off, vacation, doesn't matter. So this substance is perfectly legal in this country, but you work for us? No, you can't use it. I cannot wrap my head around these companies. Companies are either going one way where they're giving cops total amnesty to make their own rules and decide whether or not they're capable of working after consuming, to going the other way and demanding total abstinence and zero tolerance policies. Why can't somebody ever come up with something in the middle that's normal? It's always got to be one extreme or the other with these police forces. What's wrong with them? I don't get it.
Well, they've been enforcing these laws, and all of a sudden they got to take a 180-degree switch the other way around. So who knows? But apparently, sworn members who are qualified to use firearms and are able to be operationally deployed are prohibited from using recreational cannabis while on or off duty, according to the policy. It pretty much covers everybody in the service, according to the union president.
I don't understand how they can enforce this. Cannabis being a legal substance in this country in 17 short days. That's like telling somebody on the police force they can never have a drink. They can never have, an aspirin or anything else that's legal.
According to the union president, Les Kaminsky, when our members are on a 5-day off stretch, they're not expected to carry their firearms around with them. We leave them at work. If a person has 5 days off and smokes some cannabis on their first day off, are they not fit for duty 5 days later? That's what they have to figure out, and that's completely true.
Yes, absolutely.
The officer gets a week off or 2 weeks off on holidays.
Yeah. Yeah, you're on vacation. You should be able to do what you want that is legal on vacation. You're going to tell that officer they can't have a drink while they're on vacation. Are you going to tell that officer that they can't eat chocolate cake while they're on that vacation? I mean, come on. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's right. It is. Well, according to the superintendent, Darren Leggett, he says it's hard to do research on something that's been illegal for so long. Well, we've been saying that for a long time.
Yeah.
Medical research. But they say absenteeism for sworn members is really the most logical way to start. He raises concerns about the drug's ability to impair judgment, decision-making, and cognitive processes. So I guess this must linger on for a week or two after you smoke a joint. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is exactly it. I mean, so there's a lot of things that are out there that impair judgment and decision making and your ability to make judgment processes. Alcohol does that, but when they drank yesterday, they can come to work tomorrow, and it should be the same.
Yeah, well, the union president fully expects this policy to be a completely different thing in another year, and the sergeant there has said, well, this isn't etched in stone, it could maybe change. So, see what happens. It's is it one of those situations where they've come down hard in the beginning and it's easier to lighten things up than it is to go the opposite direction? I don't know, but I think it infringes on their rights, obviously.
I hope some officers take take a stand against this with their unions backing, because, I mean, it's unconstitutional at the very least.
Yeah, I don't, Not right.
Yeah.
All right, let's talking about bans. Let's head on over to our next story.
Yeah, we're looking at the rental units. A large portion of the population in this country live in either apartment buildings or condos. They might not be too happy if their landlord or the giant boardwalk.
Yes, that's right. A major landlord in Alberta will prohibit tenants from smoking and growing cannabis on its properties. Yes. Yeah, well, that's normal. Hey, that seems to be a normal thing. But, Boardwalk, they own 22,000 units, and they're shutting that down. People won't be able to consume cannabis. Same with 13,000 in Edmonton as well.
Yeah, they say because it's legal just means it's not illegal to possess or use. That doesn't mean that everyone has the right to use it, however or whenever they want. They don't want it in their buildings, and they're not going to allow it for recreational use.
Well, they have a little bit of a twist in their policy. They're going to allow people to vaporize.
Yeah.
The company did clarify. Yeah, the company did clarify it will not prevent tenants from eating or vaping cannabis, despite its notice to tenants. So.
Yeah, and they also acknowledge that medical use and medical cannabis is a different thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're not going to be prohibiting patients, which is good. They do acknowledge that that is a different thing. If patients do have a license to grow, and then that's it. They're under a different set of rules.
Yeah, and so you know, smoking tobacco at their Edmonton location is not allowed.
Yeah, it is already prohibited. So I would imagine the buildings that they don't have pot tobacco policy in place, they would have to either enact a pot tobacco policy in that place as well, or the cannabis law only in that building would wind up seeing a challenge, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, they say that the reaction from their residents has been positive, very positive. The reaction on media has been mostly about how they would police edibles, and as they say, they're not going to police edibles. Residents are free to eat as much as they'd like.
Yeah. They're strictly addressing the smoking aspect of it.
Yeah. Well, at least they're not banning the vaporizing.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. All right.
One good thing, but I mean, not great, but still, at least there's something there.
All right, now, just so you know, people in P.E.I. will have finally sealed the deal in order to be able to have their cannabis delivered to them.
Yeah, they figured out what method of delivery they're going to use over there in P.E.I., and instead of Canada Post, they've opted for Purelator.
Yes, they did. Purelator is going to deliver their product to the businesses, or from the businesses to the residents. Well, you know, the online business, I should say.
Yeah, so your home consumers that are using the online service in this province won't be waiting for days on end, I guess, for Canada Post. It will be delivered by Purelator. And given that it's localized delivery in P.E.I., I would imagine that's going to cut the wait times, too.
Yeah, probably. Well, P.E.I. is not that big. But it'd be a standardized delivery cost, no matter how much you purchase. A flat rate, $8 per delivery, no matter where you live in the province.
Yeah, reasonable cost. They must have cut a deal with Purelator, because it costs a lot more than that to ship a package across P.E.I. Via Purelator. So probably a large volume discount being had by the province there, and they're passing that savings on to the consumer. So that's good to see.
Yeah, and P.E.I.'s picked an experienced company, as these people already deliver the medical cannabis for the licensed producers, so they've already got the knowledge to do all that.
Yeah. So good deal for P.E.I. Prompt delivery, reasonable rates, signature at the door by a good company.
Yeah, well, So I guess somebody, whether it's in P.E.I. or wherever they are, especially here in Ontario, when they order their legal cannabis on October the 17th, and it comes by courier, they won't actually be able to consume their now legal cannabis till like the 18th and 19th. Depends on how. What's the guaranteed delivery here?
Yeah.
Is it 2 or 3 days overnight?
Yeah. So you can order it on the 17th, but then you've got to wait for it to get there.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it even delays it even further for those that have to order it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
True.
And for a medical patient, maybe walking around with 5 joints on them may not. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I'm worried. I'm thinking about, would they have to actually carry ID anymore, showing that they're a medical patient, because 5 joints would be legal. But then how do you prove where you purchased it? I guess I don't know.
I don't know. I think the only time your medical patient status would come into play is if you're consuming in a non-consumption area for a rec user.
Yeah, or you're carrying more than 30 grams.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get on to this banning wagon. We got one more story before we go to our break here.
Yeah, this one's kind of interesting. Air Canada has come out with some new policies.
That's right. Pilots, cabin crew, flight dispatchers, and aircraft maintenance employees are among Air Canada staff who won't be able to use cannabis, whether they are on duty or off duty.
Yeah, that's only a short list of some of the people that are covered under this new workplace policy that are instituted by Air Canada. Now, the ministry has left it up to the individual airlines to create their own policy. Air Canada is the very first one to jump on the bandwagon and announce this policy, and they've given it widespread coverage. Basically, if you have ever contact with the plane, then this policy is in effect for you.
Yeah, like a stewardess.
Yeah.
Yet again, let's say they were away on holidays for a week.
Yeah.
How are they impaired when they come back? If it's been, the first night out, it's the same thing as the Calgary police situation.
Yeah. Baggage handlers that load the planes. If you're in contact with a plane, this policy affects you. So ground crew is involved in this. And once again, we've got a blanket zero tolerance policy that's in effect here. Zero tolerance doesn't work. Have we not learned anything yet?
No. Well, Air Canada said that we are acting out of abundance of caution based on current understanding of the effects of these drugs, including their after effects and the potential they can linger in the human system.
Well, I don't know where they're getting their information, but they're getting false information, because the only thing that lingers in the human system is the good effects of the cannabinoids infusing our systems. There's no euphoric effect or mind-altering effects whatsoever after a minimum number of hours or less with cannabis users. So, I mean, it's nonsensical. Once again, nonsensical policy that I can't understand.
Well, the airline said that the policy was put in place based on the current understanding of the effects of cannabis.
So do we have the same policy once again for alcohol? I keep referring back to my same arguments that I had for the police force. I mean, this once again is the same situation in a different workplace. And I can see this happening in a multitude of workplaces across the board, which is only going to hinder our workplaces that are currently operating, not help them at all.
Yeah. Just so you know, there has been a policy in place pertaining to medical cannabis use for some time, much of which is surrounded the human rights for those who use it. But I would imagine they've been moved out of safety-sensitive jobs.
That's right. Most of these kind of things are handled internally, and that's what they do. They do what we've seen happening in the public eye through the newspapers with the TTC employee, by offering them different positions, downgrades in pay, and all this kind of stuff, or get back on opiates.
Yeah.
This is going to be a big problem in the future for cannabis consumers, cannabis patients, and workplaces all over the place. I think we're going to see a lot of tribunals on this.
Well, it looks like we're going to be discussing more of this next week with Irene and I, because I see WestJet is going to come out with their policy next week.
Yeah, well.
Or maybe you and I in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Depends when it comes out.
Yeah, we'll have to wait for good old WestJet being next.
Yeah. All right, Kim, it's time to do another medication session.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, our listeners will hear more of that Amsterdam, hear about Amsterdam, and a little more Hannah and her song there, Smoky Amsterdam. You're listening to the Reefer Reporters. We are live here at lifestyleradio.net.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
It's illegal for the shops to buy their supply of weed.
The politicians, they forgot to organize one aspect of it all. That's that we buy the weed in a normal way. So in Holland, it's illegal to buy weed on a large scale. And it's illegal to produce cannabis also. In America, what you see is a little bit the opposite side. So what they have organized really well is the production of weed.
The Dutch government is planning a trial to experiment with legal production in the country. But that's just one of many regulatory hurdles in the Dutch cannabis industry. A law in 2014 forced coffee shops located within 250 meters of a school to close. That affected 1/3 of Amsterdam shops. Helm said marijuana legalization in Canada and states in the U.S. has started a conversation about how the Netherlands can cash in on the growing legal weed market, which is expected to reach more than $140 billion by 2025. He pointed to Canadian public cannabis companies now valued at billions of dollars.
Do you think it could ever happen here where there was a big publicly traded cannabis company?
I think it will be a while, but I think in the end it will happen worldwide. What you see now is that really big companies are being created producing cannabis. To walk around in those companies and facilities is for us really a dream come true because it's growing weed in a 100% legal way.
Hey everyone, Elizabeth here. Thanks so much for watching. What do you think about the marijuana industry? Let us know in the comment section.
Tune in to DJ Passion from the land of Ganja, the island of Jamaica, when he comes to you live every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on lifestyleradio.net. Listen in until midnight every weekend as he spins your favorite reggae tunes, including the classics, from Butterfly's Passion, Bed and Breakfast above Discovery Bay. DJ Passion makes you feel like you are on the island. Head to the land of sun, fun, and Ganja Weekly when you tune in Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to Reggae Saturday with DJ Passion, live here on lifestyleradio.net. Don't forget to catch the award-winning Pace Radio Show live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, only on Lifestyle Radio.
You're talking to me.
Yeah, what you doing over in that crazy country?
Skipping and tripping and smoking dope and toking hash. You mean this crazy set everything's moving so fast.
Slow it down.
No gotta go, stay on my flow. We're going out to the show. Some band I don't know. Sold some discs in my bag. $2.50 in cash. I bought a quarter ounce of kind. What do you think that'll last?
What you mean that's enough?
Yes, I know we puff tough. But tonight we're chilling out in smoky Amsterdam. You know you can't predict what's gonna happen, my man.
Hey, we're back from our medication session, and Kim and I still got lots of news to cover. Just so you know, Kim, I met Hannah.
Oh, did you?
Yes, at, I believe it was 2010 Treating Yourself Expo. She was there to receive a global marijuana music award.
Oh, cool. Very
actually,
cool.
For that song, actually, to tell you the truth.
Oh, very cool, very cool. Yeah, good song, for sure.
Yeah, I got the CD right here in the cabinet beside me.
There we go.
Let's get to the news.
Yeah, we're going to jump over into Montreal for a minute and see what's going on there.
That's right. A judge has granted a discharge to a medicinal cannabis grower despite the comments in the media.
Yeah, Vijay, I know this gentleman. I don't know him very well. I had the opportunity to meet him once just last year at an event that I was at. He was there with John Bragados from Skunk Magazine. And I met him there, and nice guy and everything. But man, he was hopping mad. He got caught, and he had some overages on his license. So he has a personal grow, and he had a few too many plants, and they charged him. And he felt disgruntled about pleading guilty, and he let those views be known in the media, and that got brought up in court.
Yeah. It says here that he was authorized to grow cannabis at his former residence to help him with gastric pain. I know all about that. While growing the plants indoors as required by Health Canada, he began to experience problems with mold. So he changed his plants.
He changed his plants, and he had too many going at the same time because he was midstream of strain changing his crop, and they came in and they tore it all down, and they arrested him.
Yes. Wow, eh?
Yeah, so he was hopping mad about the whole thing. He said, when I was speaking to him about it, he said, growing, you can't say, this many plants, that many plants. When you're growing, you have to start with more, and then you thin it down to get the appropriate amount, but they have to have the leeway for that. And when you're changing a crop over, there's these ones here, but they're rotten. They're going away now because I have to start new ones. There's more right now because I have to start new ones. And there's no allowances for that. And it's true.
Yes. What's this about the comment in the newspaper?
Well, he made comments about being disgruntled, about pleading guilty. So he was being interviewed, and he had said, I'm pissed off about pleading guilty. I don't want to plead guilty, but I'm being forced to plead guilty. Is basically the gist of it all.
Okay.
And this got brought up by the prosecuting attorney. And so the judge took all of that into consideration and said, well, you know what, if he doesn't want to plead guilty, he shouldn't be pleading guilty to start with, and wound up giving him a discharge.
Oh, there you go. Oh, wow, eh? So he got a discharge instead of pleading guilty.
Yeah.
So by speaking out, it is actually beneficial to him.
Yes. And it was the prosecutor bit himself in the own foot, so to speak, or shot himself in the own foot, because he's the one that brought it up. He's like, well, this guy's saying this and that into the newspaper, and the judge is looking at it saying, well, he's right. And I can't give him a guilty plea on this, and gave him a discharge.
Good. And that was a good finish. I thought it was part of it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but he was pretty pissed off. I mean, Vigis was pissed off about the whole thing.
Yeah.
He was very, very vocal about that. And the judge took that into consideration with his ruling.
Huh? Worked for him. That's good.
Yeah. So congratulations to Vigis on getting a discharge on those.
Yeah. Well, his message got to the judge. If it hadn't got to him before, he got to him through the press.
That's right.
All right. Let's head down into the U.S. with some international stories.
Yeah, stuff going on in the United States, even though it is federally illegal in the United States. Phoenix is making some headway.
That's right. The Mint Dispensary has opened the first full-service cannabis kitchen in the United States. Patients possessing a medical marijuana card will now be able to purchase a warm meal customized with a dose of cannabis.
Yeah, they are open up now for a soft opening, and the grand opening is happening in a few short days on Friday, October the 5th. So it's sort of a state-of-the-art kitchen-to-table, cannabis-infused breakfast, lunch, dinner, prepared dish sort of a thing.
Yeah, right on site too, eh?
Yeah, everything is done right there. You bring them in your cannabis, they infuse your meal, and they can give it back to you ready to eat or take it home, put it away, and reheat it later.
Yeah, they're going to have things like pizza, pasta, artisan burgers, street tacos, fries, and other meals. They're all going to be cannabis infused.
Yeah, so the very first kitchen-to-table prepared food, cannabis infused. And it's happening in a place that's federally illegal.
Yeah.
Legalization happening in Canada, but we don't have it in food for another year.
I see they also got a juice bar, a barista, gelato, and pastry counter. Wonder if they're all infused as well. What do you think?
Yeah, that would be awesome. I mean, have a barista make you, some sort of, exotic coffee there, and have different elements or all the elements infused.
Yep, doses will range up to 10 milligrams and up.
Yeah, 10 milligrams. Right. So 10 milligrams is the lowest dose that they can infuse, I guess.
Yeah. Regular bread is this hour, 7 days a week. They're going to be doing this. Seasonal menus for Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's.
Yeah, so I mean they'll have themed dinners. I'm sure at Christmas time we'll have a lot of the turkey and the ham sort of things going on. And Halloween and harvest time we've got all the pumpkin variations and so forth. So I think that would be fantastic to go to a place like that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it'd be cool. And actually, I wouldn't doubt it. I think there's one that's opened up in the city of Toronto.
That'd be cool.
I think I see an announcement on social media. An advocate has opened something along that line.
It would be very cool for sure.
That's right. Yes. Well, let's just happen to see a story here in Reuters. It says that ex-rural leaders want a solution to the failed drug war.
Yeah, the group includes 12 former heads of state that have been advocating for an end to drug prohibition since 2011, and a growing number of countries have created medical cannabis around markets around the world. They don't see a use to continue the war on drugs.
Wrong. Exactly, which sort of proves that, was it a war on drugs or was it a war on cannabis?
Well, exactly. They're encompassing all drugs into this regime, even though cannabis is the one that seems to be everybody's focus. So it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it?
That's right. Well, according to Helen Clark, former Prime Minister of New Zealand, she says that the international drug control system is clearly failing. The health of nations is not advanced by the current approach to drug control.
Yeah. I mean, it's reasonable talk here. Why is it that this happens when they're ex-heads of state?
Yeah, exactly.
Why isn't it happening when they are at helm heads of state? They all wait to go into retirement before they speak their mind.
Yeah.
Nerve-wracking. But lots of countries are in on this deal. Several people from around the globe are speaking out on it. They're talking about different countries like Mexico and places around the world that are looking at legal markets now.
Yeah, well, the incoming president in Mexico has already started to hold town hall reviews on violence and discuss potential amnesty for nonviolent drug traffickers and farmers. Member of his teams have said Mexico will evaluate creating legal markets for cannabis as well as opium.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of them are looking at places like Portugal that have decriminalized and all of drugs, and the strides that they're seeing in these countries with rehabilitation and things, in the healthcare system, it isn't costing them more, it's costing them less, because, issues with opiate use, with AIDS and related diseases that people are having are going down. So the healthcare system is actually saving money overall by supplying not only the needles, but the substance to users that choose to stay on them. But most of them in droves are going for help instead. So as far as the opiate crisis is concerned, I think it's also the way to go. Abstinence and law, making it rule of law, doesn't work. It needs to be a health issue.
Well, Ruth Dreyfus, the former president of Switzerland and the chairman of this commission, she says that the current drug policies are reducing neither the demand nor the supply of illegal drugs. Quite the contrary, while the increasing power of organized crime is a sad reality.
Yeah,
which is
well,
good.
you want to get rid of all of that elements, then you have to decriminalize it, right? The war on drugs hasn't worked.
Yeah.
Abstinence and rule of law has not worked. These governments need to open their eyes to that and get off the bandwagon that doesn't work.
Yes, that's right. And the cannabis issue has been a perfect example of that.
It absolutely has.
His alcohol situation during his prohibition proved that as well.
Absolutely. You know, some countries and regions are starting to open their eyes a little more in faraway places, even as far as Asia.
That's right. Malaysia is in talks to become the first in Asia to allow medical cannabis.
Yeah. Malaysia is racing against Thailand right now to become the first country to legalize cannabis for medical use. They're both looking at it simultaneously right now, so tides are turning on other continents as well.
And let's not forget, Malaysia is a country that imposes the death penalty for some drug trafficking offenses.
Yeah, that's right. So people are still dying. You get caught with heroin and that kind of thing in these countries like Malaysia, and it's the death penalty. So for them to be looking at something like medical cannabis is a huge stride forward.
The cabinet has very briefly discussed the medical value of cannabis in a meeting last week and have started early and informal talks on amending the relevant laws. They said it's already been done in certain countries and in certain states in America. If it's going to be used for medical purpose, it can be used. Not for social purposes, but for medical purposes. It should be allowed to be used, is what the country's just trying to find. He's a minister. Minister of Water, Land, and National Resources. Is who he is.
Yeah, but it's funny that they make it very clear. Not for social purposes, okay? Not for that, just for medical. Let's be clear about that.
But if a medical patient comes out of a bar and has a joint and then goes back in, is that a medical or recreational?
And
to them, it can be complete recreational. Believe me, I know that. But I'm just saying, how would it be looked at?
Yeah, exactly. And what about the medical patient that's using for social anxiety?
yeah, exactly. I guess it depends on what their law allows.
I would imagine so. Perhaps their medical regime will be quite strict. But you know what? No matter what, it's a crack in the door. And sometimes that's all it takes to start pushing it forward.
Yeah, completely. And, people will see, well, hey, those medical patients, they're not doing crazy and wild things.
That's right. And one advancement, it can lead to 10 steps forward in the future. But unless that first step is taken, they'll never happen. So good to see things happening in Asia, Malaysia, and Thailand in a race to become first.
That's right. Exactly. Well, Kim, let's move on to our last story.
Yeah, the last one. Since we're flying out for the night, we might as well talk about airports.
That's right. Soon you can now fly with cannabis out of Los Angeles International Airport.
Yep, another milestone in LA. LAX will allow travelers, including international travelers, flying out of its airport to carry cannabis without interference. This is huge considering airports are basically federally regulated, and cannabis is still federally illegal there. But because of the laws that are happening in California, LAX is making this consideration happen.
That's right. Airport police say they will not stop or arrest you if they find cannabis in your carry-on bags. LAX announced the new policy in a statement on its website, and it says, in accordance with the Proposition 64, the Los Angeles Area Police Department will allow passengers, Airport Police Department will allow passengers to travel through LAX with up to 28.5 grams of cannabis and 8 grams of concentrated marijuana.
There you go. So they won't stop you if it's found in your carry-on bags at all. So if you're flying out of the U.S. region, Go to LAX to fly out if you want to carry.
Well, one of the local stations there reported that the Transportation Security Administration could still prevent people from boarding flights if the federal agency finds cannabis in the carry-on bags, but that airport police would not confiscate it unless it exceeds California's legal amount.
That's right. So be reasonable. You want a reasonable amount to travel with? They're allowing you to do that. So be reasonable.
Wonder if it's, for example,
Where they said that they could still prevent people from boarding flights with it. Does that mean that maybe there's a possibility if you're flying to a state where it's illegal?
Could be. Are they going to make you flush it? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, the more favorable, like, it doesn't come right out and say it, but, you know, could it be more towards directed to allowing you to fly to those legal states?
Yeah, and they do definitely mention the international flying, so maybe they're taking consideration into a large population of Californians coming to, say, Canada for, you know, business purposes in the future.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be good.
You know, maybe perhaps they're looking at that avenue as well.
Well, they have. Well, if we can't drive across the border with the border guard having a knowledge that you've consumed cannabis in any way or even written about cannabis, I mean, we've never talked on a radio show about it.
Yeah.
It'd be funny that the airplane company will allow you to fly into the country with it.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can leave perhaps business people that are in California that want to bring some of their samples perhaps to the Canadian side will be able to do that if they fly out of LAX.
Maybe. Who knows? We'll find out.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay, Kim, that's it. That's our last story of the day.
Sounds good to me. It was a busy week. I know it's going to be a busy week again from now until well beyond legalization. For sure.
For sure. Big time. Especially leading up to and after that.
Yep.
Geez, maybe we'll get different photos in the newspaper so we don't see the same girl wearing the weed hat or the same joint in the building. In 1 week, I saw this joint that had smoke coming off of it with the blue haze behind it in like 3 different stories.
Yeah, they just continually recirculate the same photos over and over and over again. It's like, oh my God, there are so many out there. They really need to do some more research and some Google searches.
Yes, they do. Okay, that's our Reefer report for Potober the 1st, 2018. And in closing, we'd like to say thank you for listening to our cannabis news broadcast here at lifestyleradio.net. If you enjoyed it, please share it with whom you think will benefit from it, a friend, a family member, or just a guy down the street. Plus, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
I'll catch you later.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.